Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Brother Munoz, Brother Cepeda Brother Minister Cepeda is sitting here offering you guys another video. So be sure to watch it in its entirety. Leave a comment, hit the like button or the dislike button if you're being genuine about it, about the way you feel, and you're not being what they refer to nowadays as a hater. I really don't like using that word, but I had to use it to get my point across. But if you're being genuine, and you don't like the video, leave a dislike button. But if it's just something you're just being mean spirited, then just go on about your business. I always start by sending you guys to the website. They are doing some work in the apartment, and I do have a 12-week-old pup over there that's going through its cage training process. So you may hear some noises from one or both of those sources. But again, back to the website, I always start by asking that you guys go there. It's at treeoflifeoutreach.com. I like to send people there every single video, new subscribers. If there's someone who is already subscribed to the channel, but they need a good piece of motivation, then that's what the website is there for. So read it, read the bio, be inspired. If it's not for you, I understand that. Perhaps there's someone that you know that could benefit from it. Send them there, allow them to benefit from the fact that hope is still alive and well. This thing we call God, or whatever you're comfortable calling it, it's still alive and well. It's still on the throne performing miracles. And if you believe in it, and you've always had this sense that it's there for you, it's bailed you out of some situations, it's comforted you in different situations and whatnot, then it is there for you. It is there. You can't tell me one situation that he has not brought you through. So it's there, it's real, and that's why I send guys there. Scroll down at the end of the bio, go through the services that I provide, which is philosophical consultations, youth and young adult mentoring and counseling, ISSA certified fitness training, and inspirational and motivational teaching. You know somebody that's interested in that, perhaps yourself, a friend, coworker, whatever, pass the information on. Go down also and click at the very end. You'll click on a website that will take you to the fitness arm of the ministry. This is a holistic ministry that I provide, guys, and it's my job, it's my calling, it's my assignment to provide you guys with nourishment for your mind, your body, and your spirit. I like to synthesize these things, keep them in a proper balance, so that everything works effectively and efficiently like it should. You know, we can't fall out of balance in anything. Too much love is not the way to go. I mean, you can't have a such thing as just be too loving. I mean, there's a time when you probably need to exert or set forth some righteous anger, some justifiable disdain, things of that nature. So you have to have these things in proper balance, no matter what they are, or no matter what it is. So that's what I provide. It's a holistic ministry. It's grassroots. It's door to door. So it's real personalized, and no subjects is taboo or off limits. So know that. Today I'm going to speak to you guys about overcoming fear. You know, we hear this all the time. We see this all the time. And that's, to some extent, I think in these days and times, pretty large finger could be pointed at that being a reason why most people aren't getting involved to make the world a better place. They're not getting involved to even make themselves a better place. They see what's happening to themselves. They see what's going on and what's going wrong in society, but they're so fearful of making a change in their personal life or getting in society and voicing a change and doing what they can to implement a change. You know, I think a lot of times fear is just something that is given to us. It's something that we learned. It's a learned behavior. The only fears we're born with as newborn baby is the fear of a loud sound and the fear of falling. All the other fears, they're taught to us. We learn them. And so you're living in a society where people are fearful, and you kind of say, well, how did we end up in this way? How did we end up to where the only two fears we're born with is the fear of a loud sound and the fear of falling? Then how did we end up here? People are fearful to go to their mailbox. They're fearful of getting robbed. They're fearful of going for a hope or a dream that they have. They're fearful for standing up when somebody is being mistreated and they know it. They're fearful to say, that's not what I believe in. I'm not going to be in a crowd with people talking about stuff that I don't believe in. I'm just going to stay there because they're fearful of walking away because of the social backlash and whatnot. People just live in a state of perpetual fear. So how did we get here? Well, it's been very carefully orchestrated and very masterfully designed. You know, these people that are controlling our system, they know, they can tell you the life cycle of an ant. They can tell you the breeding and the mating habits of an ant, an aardvark, an elephant. They can tell you about an alligator, what it will be eating at this time, and then once it goes from there, what it'll be eating then. They can tell you about a caterpillar. What's its number one enemy? What happens if it doesn't eat this amount each day? They can tell you about all of these different animals and live, different animals and insects and this and that. Everything that's alive on the planet. From a turtle to a tree. They can tell you about it. So what does that tell you? That tells me that they know even more about us as human beings. You don't think they went out there and grasped and put all their time in this research and all of that stuff and don't know very much or just know the basics about humans. They know everything about humans, human behavior, from our what could make us ill, what could affect our moods, how long we could live if we do this, how long we could live if we do that, what causes this, all of this. These people know. So when you ask how did we end up in a situation like that, well, it's been bred into us. It's been introduced to us. It's been taught to us. It's learned behavior. We should fear this. We should fear that. We never have been taught to really be this bold, outgoing, adventurous, daring, beautiful, courageous spirit that we are organically. We've never been taught how to pursue that, unless they want to try and manipulate that on a battlefield. And even that is a form of brainwashing, to how they brainwashed people to go out there and just charge from this line of fire right out into the open until some people that's got a whole bunch of guns on that side firing at you. That's not courage, guys. That's not courage. That's foolishness. Now, you could call what I just said cowardice. You have every right to call it that. And we can agree to disagree without becoming disagreeable. But you're not going to convince me that that's courage. So these people, getting back to the bulk of this topic, if you will, these people have masterfully introduced this stuff to us because they need a society of people who are fearful. It's the only way they can rule. And the truth be told, they are even more fearful than the average Joe, because there's only a small number of them. And so they put more and more time to delicately and assiduously weave in the fabrics of their plan, because they know if it's ever discovered, man, they could be over as easy as it would take for you to step on an ant. So they keep people living in fear. Fear is a big part of why people are divided. Fearful that, this color people ain't going to give you justice. Fearful that this color people is going to take your justice. Fearful this color people is going to take your land. Just fear. It's propagated everywhere. So the only way that I know to overcome this, is to constantly and continually practice acts of bravery. Real bravery. Not bravery because, there's 500 people over there lined up on a battlefield, and these 500 people there are just going to, without shelter, without cover or anything, they're just going to charge at the sound of a flute and run up on bayonets and cannons and gunfire right out into the open. That's not bravery, guys. So the only way to overcome fear is by the constant and continual practice of acts of bravery. Real bravery. You know how much bravery it takes for you to be you? The guy who's willing to be himself may easily be labeled as a guy who's fearful, as a guy or a girl who's fearful or antisocial. A lack of confidence. That person, you know how much courage it takes to walk into a room full of people who's laughing and joking, and you, without being rude, make a choice that what they're talking about is not funny to me. So I'm not going to laugh. I'm not going to fake laugh. I'm not going to be rude. I may acknowledge their laughter with a smile or body gesture or something to let them know I'm acknowledging, but it's not funny to me. You know how much courage that takes? And for those of you who will sit there and say it doesn't take much courage at all, that's because you're so blinded to the fact of how fearful you are. You couldn't fathom that. How does that take bravery? You're gonna walk into that room, and if it's your boss and your co-worker and his boss and all these executives, you're going, they might lose my job. They may call me a basket case. They may call me antisocial. I can't afford to look like that. Do you know how much courage it takes to be out in public, say for example, and see somebody being misused and abused, and without being a hero, inject yourself into that situation appropriately, manfully or womanly, and say, hey guys, whatever it takes to offer some assistance and to the person who's being abused, or some information to the people about why they shouldn't do it. No, you'll stand there and maybe watch for a while and then go on about your business. You know how much courage that takes? You know how much courage it takes to be this color of a person, but to go in front of all of your own people who are that same color or ethnic group and say, hey man, look, you're barking down the wrong tree, you're begging, you're pleading, and you're blaming. And the fact of the matter is, we should do. You know how much courage that takes? You know how much courage it takes for you to be of a different ethnic group and say, hey man, look, those people are being unfair. We all know those people are being unfairly treated. We all know this. I'm going to be the first one to stand up and say something about it. No, that takes real courage. That takes real courage. You know how much courage it took for Martin Luther King to walk down the street knowing that they was going to split his head open, arrest him. You know how much courage it took for Martin Luther King just to be Martin Luther King? Knowing every day how they was lynching people and kidnapping people, never for him to never be seen again, but he chose to be who he was. He wasn't afraid to pay that ultimate price, and he certainly wasn't afraid to lose his job, be considered a nutcase, and all of this. No, that takes courage. You know how much courage it took for MLK to do that? You know how much courage it took for JFK to do that? To go up there and make a public statement about the powers that be, and to take organized crime head on, and to take on his own cabinet members who were falsely trying to start a war. These type of things take courage. And the only way you, me, or anyone else is going to get there, if we aren't already there, and if we are already there, then we need to be that, because what's the sense of you being brave if you're not going to be brave? So we got some people who are brave, but they're not being brave with me, which means, what's the point? What's the point of you knowing the proper way to cook on the stove, but every time you go over there, you burn your hand? You do it a different way and you burn your hand. So what's the point of being brave if you're not going to be brave? We got some people who are brave and can see the wrong things going on and won't say anything. It's been instilled in us. It's been instilled in us. And it really took off when they assassinated Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, JFK. When they assassinated those people, the way that they did, for everybody to be able to see with regards to television, everybody basically having a television and being able to get the story and see footage or some kind of footage of it. This was to instill that fear that, hey, you don't get out of line. You don't get out of line, or they'll do something to you. What's considered to be the worst thing? No. Oppression is worse than death. Living your life with the abilities, the knowledge, and the capabilities to get some positive things done and not do it, to sit on the fence. What a travesty. That's worse than death. In my view, that's a lot worse than death. To know the truth at a party, but to sit around and watch everybody spread rumors in the party about somebody that you know is false, and you just sit there. That's worse than death for people like me and people like others that are similar or like me. There's things worse than death. But we have been trained with fear from the kindergarten forward. Go outside. Oh, you're not going outside? I'm going to call your mom. Sit down in that chair. I'm going to call your mom. Do this homework tonight. You better get a good grade. I'm going to call your mom. It's all been fear-based. We've been taught to be fearful. This is why it's always on the news. This is why it's always, you can't turn on. There's fear of acid rain, fear of a hurricane coming, fear of this ethnic group, fear of that ethnic group, fear of the economy going to collapse. This is why it's always on the news. Something to evoke that spirit of fear. And so all the stuff that we were taught as kids to be bold, to be outgoing, to be adventurous, all those things are beaten out of us. So I don't knock anyone who don't have any sense of real bravery and courage. I don't knock anyone who's living in a bubble of fear because it's all they've been taught. So how can I knock them? But what I'm saying to you right now is you can start to make a difference. And it starts from you taking a look at yourself. Maybe you aren't comfortable when they talk about her like that. And maybe every time you go to work, you want to say something, but you haven't found a way. You haven't mustered up that courage. I'm encouraging you to muster up that courage. And this is why I send people to the website all the time, because it's not about me. It's about what he's brought me through from my past and what he continues to carry me through each and every moment. Read the bio. There's not a story about me. That's a story about him working in me and what he did. There was always the need to face fear, and there is right now. And the way you overcome it is by facing it. You can't face it you can't overcome it if you don't face it. And we're taught to not face it. Well, I don't think this lesson is a good lesson for me. You're in high school now. You're in college now. Instead of you telling the professor, well, the way you're teaching is the way you're teaching is, it's just not working for me. You're afraid that the other kids are going to say, oh, he's got a learning problem. Or the instructor's going to say, well, I don't know what to tell you. You're just going to fail this grade. We're taught to be fearful. We're taught to be fearful of each other. And again, the only way we're going to get over it, you, me, or anybody else, is to constantly practice acts of bravery. And I'm not advocating anybody get outside of themselves and go try and involve themselves in something that they know would be ill-advised for them to do. But there are plenty of opportunities. Oftentimes, there's plenty of opportunities throughout the entire day. From sunrise to sunset, there's an opportunity for us to say something or do something that requires bravery. You won't even look at the guy next to you. Maybe not out of fear that he's going to do something to you as a man, but just out of fear that, he might be a hater. He might be in a bad mood. You may not be fearful that he's going to do something to you, but you're just fearful that, like I said, he may not respond well. You're fearful to go out and go to that rehearsal, or to go out and see if you can make the talent show. Or they might laugh at me. I think I can sing. I think I can get it done. But they might laugh at me. Whatever this thing is calling you to do, and whoever it's calling you to be, it's not going to let you down. Step out on bravery and know that it's going to be okay. Even if it don't work out the way you thought it would work out, you're still going to be okay, because this universal power that wants to express itself through all of us / let thy kingdom come, it's in us, and it wants to express itself by coming through us. So it's not going to let you down. It may have an infinite plan, or a heavenly plan predestined for you. So it may not work out the way you want it to, but it's going to work out. Again, you can't tell me one situation that this Heavenly Father has not brought you through. Not one. Because if he hadn't brought you through, you wouldn't be sitting there watching this video right now. You could say, well, that didn't work out, and the rent didn't get paid, and you did have to move. Yeah. Well, you did have to go to the homeless shelter. And you didn't go to the homeless shelter and they was closed and told you couldn't get in, huh? Okay. Yeah. So you can't tell me one situation, even if it didn't work out the way you thought it would work out. You can't tell me one situation that has not worked out for you. So the only thing to be afraid of is fear. Fear is the only thing you should ever be afraid of. The moment you find yourself being fearful, and you need to find a way to confront it. Not in a reckless, unthoughtful, and foolish way. But the only way you're going to ever become brave and real confident in yourself is to move forward and facing the fears that have held you back for so long. Maybe it's held you back in your finances. Maybe it's held you back from being the person you wanted to be. You've always wanted to be an advocate for this or for that, but your family wouldn't understand. People who advocate that, they get mocked, they get ridiculed, chewed up on social media, whatever it may be. Face it. Face that fear. I'm here to encourage you. Some people say fear is false evidence appearing real. I personally, from a philosophical standpoint, say it's a false evaluation of an abbreviated reality. Because it's a lot more than what you see taking place here, guys. This construct that we living in is loaded with things that our eyes can't even perceive, our human eyes can't even perceive. We're getting check. You can check the science out on this. We're getting an abbreviated view of what's really going on around us and what they would refer to as the spiritual realm or the metaphysical realm or the quantum realm. You know, they have theories and hypotheses and all this about multiple realities taking place all around us all the time. So fear, from my philosophical view, I coined the phrase, it's a false examination of an abbreviated reality. So there's nothing to be afraid of except fear. So if you think you want to go down there and apply for the job as a chef, but you've never really done the work of a chef, but you can cook your behind off and you know the ingredients. And when they go down there and ask you, well, we might put you on the show, well, how much experience you got? And you say none, you're afraid that they're going to laugh at you. You're afraid that they're going to tell you to get off their property. Go down there. You never know how it could work out, but I guarantee you it'll work out because they might tell you to get down from there. And it might be a person that just witnessed that say, man, wow, you came down here with no experience? What's that all about? And you tell them your story. Yeah, I believe I can do it, and I ain't got no experience, but I did this. Oh yeah? Well, I tell you what, call this place tomorrow. They'll give you a shot. I want to see what you can do. Some of you guys facing fearful bullies at school, literal bullies that, kids at school. Maybe this guy or this girl, maybe she will beat you up. Maybe you will lose in a fight. So you won't even face her. Face that fear. And again, if it don't work out the way you planned it to, it's still gonna be okay because you might face that bully, and you should, and that bully may beat you up. But it'll change from there. They won't beat you up no more because the last thing a bully wants is confrontation. He just wants to bully and just keep it moving. And whoever stands up to him, whether they win, lose, or draw, whether that bully could beat them down to the ground. The bully's through messing with them after that. So whether it's bullying on social media, sometimes it's social bullying now where you go out in society and you don't laugh at the joke. You don't partake in the rumors. You don't partake in the little tight girly Daisy Duke shorts like all the other girls. You just go out there and you dress what we would call proper or old-fashioned. You dress appropriately. And then they're looking at you like, man, why she come out dressed like that? So you haven't faced the courage. You want to go out, so you put on the same Daisy Dukes that they put on, even though you know you really ain't comfortable in that. No, put on your outfit and go on down there. Face your fears. Because if you extrapolate this out and look at it on a mass level, you can see we're living in a society that's based on fear. And who gets the benefit off of that? A lot of times they used to say the top 10 percenters. Then they used to say the top 5 percenters. Then they used to say the top 2 percenters. Now the latest research, according to me, says that 0. Maybe it was 0. I have to research. It's been a while since I researched it out, but it was 0 point something. It wasn't even the top 1%. So to just throw a number out, just say for example, it was, and I'll research it. Send me a link, leave a comment, or contact me via my website, and I'll have that number ready for you. I'm probably going to do it anyway, just because it's been a while, and I would like to refresh myself with regards to that. But the last time I researched it, which was less than 3 years ago, it said the top 0 point something percent. So just to throw a number out, 0.9%. 0.9% of the people on this planet control 80% of the wealth. You ain't hear me. Statistics show that last 3 years ago, roughly 3 years when I researched it, and maybe it's changed a little bit since then. Maybe that's 0.9. If it was that, maybe it was 0.5. Maybe it was 0.1 instead of 1%. But whatever the number was, maybe it's changed. But that means it's gotten worse, because these people over here, the masses, they've continued to plummet with regards to what they actually own and control in society in terms of wealth. But the 0.9% owning 75-80% of all the world's wealth. Now that's ridiculous. And they do it because everybody else basically lives in fear. If you won't stand up and wear the outfit that you want to wear to the club, I know doggone well you ain't finna stand up and call the president out, or stand up and say, racism is wrong and all your friends believe that it's right. If you ain't gonna stand up to some guy on the elevator because you think he might be a jerk, you ain't gonna even stand up to speak, to say, hey, what's up, man? Hey, how you doing? You ain't gonna stand up to do that. So I know doggone well you ain't finna stand up to try to fight. So this has gotten beside itself, man. We live in a reality where people are based on fear, and I'm here ringing the alarm and say, hey, man, look, here's a word of encouragement. You can do it. You can do it. I didn't go through the hardships that I went through because I wanted to do it. I faced fears over and over again, acts of bravery. And even though it didn't work out the way that I wanted it to, it worked out because I'm able to sit right here, be of a sound mind, a strong body, a clean spirit, articulate my words to you, and the topics and the things that I'd like to address. I'm free, so far as a man could be free here in the United States, because we know freedom in the United States nowadays is literally a farce. But I'll say that for another video. But as that farce applies to this conversation, is how it became that in the first place. We were taught to fear. And we got to get away from it, man. One individual at a time, one situation at a time with that different individual. You really like shaving your entire face and leaving no hair on your face. But you afraid that if you do that, the bros in the hood gonna call you what they refer to as the rape face or whatever. You really want to go to the gym and lose some weight and walk on the treadmill, but you're fearful that when you go there, people are going to see how much work you need to do and label you as being fat and out of shape, so you won't even go. Fear, just you name it, across the board. And I'm here sounding the alarm like, hey, whatever that one situation is, if we're honest, we all got a lot of internal fears that we need to face and external fears. This guy parks in your parking space every single day. This beautiful lady walks by you and you want to say something to her so bad, but fear. So whatever the situation may be, both internally and externally, we need to start facing these fears, man, and realize that this is how we end up with mediocrity in our own selves and in society. Fear. Because you may be successful, but you ain't really pushed the envelope. You could be Bill Gates, but you're comfortable just being successful. You're afraid of the risk, to take the risk and shoot for being a Bill Gates status type of millionaire or billionaire. So let's face these fears, man, and realize, to borrow the words of Martin Luther King, the only thing you should ever be afraid of is fear. This is how the enemy sometimes maneuvers in the lives, particularly of those of his children. When you're trying to do something, when you're trying to become something, when you want to go somewhere, and you pray about it, and it's saying, yeah, you should do this, you should do that, but every time you think about it, it's an enormous amount of fear. That's the enemy. That's the enemy trying to block you, trying to discourage you. If you pray about it and you still don't know which way to go, there's several options. You prayed about it, you ain't got the answer. Obviously, you want to sit still and wait for the answer. But the Heavenly Father may say, He gonna leave it up to you and see what you're gonna do. And you prayed about it, you don't know which way to go, that one presents the most fear, the most challenges, and you're always bombarded with it. Every time you look at the rest of them, it's like, I don't know. I definitely don't know, because that one is the shadiest. That one's got the most fear and risk associated with it. Choose that one. Because this is what the enemy used to block us from receiving our blessings. Fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of what they might say, fear of what could happen. So if you're ever in one of those situations where you don't know which way to go, you prayed about it and whatnot, and you're still undecided, choose the one that is the enemy is trying to talk you out of. That fear is right there saying, no, definitely don't go this way. That's the one you should go. Because I believe, from my teachings, from my experience, from my research, from my practices, that is how it works. So you don't holler at the girl, you end up getting a girl that you have a happy family, it's nice, it's cool, but it's never going to be as exhilarating and as fulfilled as it could have been when that fine girl walked down the street. And she walked down the street so very fine, and that's the one you should have hollered at. But every time that fear jumped up and pulled you back down, no, she too fine, she too successful. Old girl is darn near just as good. That's a safer option for you. So you went with old girl, and you got stuck with mediocrity, or you went with old boy and got stuck with mediocrity. So let's be encouraged, man, to face our fears, realize what they are. False examination of an abbreviated reality. Nothing can stop us. The only limits we have is the one that we set for ourselves. And the only power anyone else has over us is the power that we give them. So live your life to the fullest. Be encouraged. And don't just hear this message. Apply it. Take a good look at yourself and see what areas in your life, internally and externally, in your home environment, in your work environment, what fears are holding you back from either doing something you want to do or being somebody you want to be, and then face that fear head on. Okay? Listen, I love you guys. Like, comment, subscribe. I don't know all of y'all, but I do love all of y'all. If you're feeling bad, go find somebody who's feeling bad and make them feel good. And you don't have to look far for people that's feeling bad nowadays. So if you're feeling bad, go make somebody else feel good and you'll feel better. If you're already feeling good and you go make somebody who's feeling bad feel good, then you'll go from feeling good to phenomenal, to feeling phenomenal, okay? That's just the way this thing works, guys. I love y'all. Stay blessed because y'all are blessed, and I'll holler back. Thanks.